Welcome to I Drink Your Podcast, where we drink and talk about movies from 2007.
Imagine my little girl, regular.
Guys, did you see me dance?
No, you waste energy and time.
I turned penis into gold.
Are you okay?
I want to see you naked.
Surprise, dude, you got herpes.
If I did you a ventriloquist.
You're really well dressed for a shadow puppeteer.
What is he gonna culturally appropriate this time?
My man.
I drink your podcast. I drink it up.
Welcome back to another episode of I Drink Your Podcast. With me today is Ben.
Hey, everybody.
Emily.
Hello.
And Wesley.
Well, hello there.
Hello to you too, Wes. And joining us is our very special guest, Nick. Say hello.
Hey guys, how you doing? Happy to be on here.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for joining us.
We are too. We are so happy.
Yes, sir.
Oh, smiling.
Very excited. Today we're watching Wild Hogs. But before we get started, does anyone have anything interesting in their glass?
Yeah, I do. I made myself a purple motorcycle.
Yeah, but what are you drinking?
So, what it is it's vodka, gin, rum, tequila, and blue curacao. And it's supposed to be a blue motorcycle, but I only had cranberry Sierra Mist. So it turned out purple.
Whatever soda's in his fridge, folks.
Wait, how many alcohols was that?
5.
It's almost like a Long Island.
And how's that taste?
It's actually really good. I mean, you know I love cranberry Sierra Mist, so anything in that is going to be just great.
Yeah, well, not to bury the lead, but I put about as much effort into my drink today as this movie put into comedy. So I'm drinking what I'm calling an alcoholic drink. And I got it out of a jug that was labeled XXX.
Are you serious?
No, Emily, that doesn't exist outside of cartoons.
I believe you, Wesley.
They should sell that.
They probably do somewhere.
I've got myself a nice little Margarita.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, from New Mexico?
Margarita.
Yes, sir. So I made it with little variations, what we have available. So lemon juice instead of lime juice. I've got agave, and then obviously tequila and a little bit of grenadine. And I'm going to call this a pink motorcycle.
Oh.
Well, then I'll call mine a brown motorcycle.
There you go.
Nick, what kind of motorcycle do you have?
Yeah, what kind of motorcycle are you
A
drinking?
redneck motorcycle? I got Budweiser, I'm just going to...
There it is.
Hey!
Gets the motor running.
I'm from the
Yes.
South, so this is perfect, so...
Nick, tell us a little bit about you. Gleam in the Tube, a little bit about your music. Just give us the story.
Yeah, the big story. No, okay. So I used to run a podcast with me and my friend, and we got 92 episodes actually into it. And we just called it quits because, we had priorities elsewhere. So, I mean, you guys know making a podcast takes up a great deal of time.
Yeah.
And I'm a musician, and I'm married, and it's like, okay, got to figure out a way to balance everything. So we agreed, and it was just kind of a nice little departure. So yeah, I'm focusing now on making music, mainly for film scoring. So I have a couple people I know that have worked with films and TV. So I'm like, please, can I itch my way in there? Like, I'm gonna get it. I need to make money, not doing something I don't want to do. So
Yes.
But,
like any job, I'm sure there's kind of, it's shit. So
What kind of instruments do you play?
Oh, I mean, I'm a multi-instrumentalist. I don't want to sound pretentious. I kind of do.
No, tell us.
What can't you play?
I can't play the banjo well.
Okay.
I can't play the harp.
Can you play bassoon?
No, okay, no wind instruments. I can't do any
Okay.
wind instruments.
Okay, that's one I got then.
Yeah, so if anybody has a wind instrument, you got me. But if I can use my hands, I'm good.
Do you have a favorite composer of film scores?
Cliff Martinez. Easy. That's an easy
Okay.
answer. Him and Clint Mansell's a close second. I mean, they just every soundtrack Cliff Martinez makes is destructive. I mean, it's just.
Are you thinking of a particular movie and purpose? Or are you thinking of a particular movie
Are you thinking of any movie in particular?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I love Drive. Like, that's my favorite movie probably of all time. And he did an amazing job. It's an incredible movie. I'm so moved every time I watch it. It's so fresh. But I would say his best score right now, I think, is Contagion. That's just a very well-composed, big soundtrack. And
then Clint Mansell is Requiem for a Dream, right?
Yep, and Pi, which is, Pi got me into a lot of things. Yeah, I mean, Aronofsky's go-to guy.
Okay.
Nice. Pi got me into circles. So, Nick, what were you up to in 2007?
So 2007 is when I started watching movies. Actually pursuing watching films. I saw this movie called Shrooms, and I was like, I didn't know you can make movies like that. And so I kept watching movies.
My God. Are you serious?
Completely serious.
Okay, we gotta pause because we probably watched this movie at the same time, but I was like in middle school and I was terrified. This was my first horror-ish kind of movie, and I hated every second of it. So the fact that it inspires you to go into movies, I was like, I fucking never want to see a horror movie again.
Well, it's like I saw so many just generic. To me, they were all generic, and Shrooms was just that indie horror movie that kind of stood amongst the rest of the mainstream. And I was like, there's more of this. I'm going down this rabbit hole, and it just. Nice. And then I ended up going to see No Country for Old Men with my mom, and then you know what that is. So it was just like, all right, cinephile jumpstart. Right?
And what's the premise of Shrooms?
It's a group of friends go to Ireland to pick shrooms and have shroom tea and have a gay old time, and shit goes wrong and people start dying.
Okay.
There is a terrible scene where a guy's dick, I think, gets cut off or chopped off or eaten off, something like that.
That's the titular shroom.
Yow. We're already kind of leading into it a little bit, but what made you kind of fall in love with movies?
Honestly, it did start with horror films. It was like, what kind of edgy stories could we get? What edgy characters can you develop? And, I watched The Human Centipede and I was like, did you see that blood of the crown above the dude's head? He thought he was a king. I started doing that kind of stuff. And it's just all of a sudden I find Harmony Korine and I'm like, all right, we're off the deep end now. Totally off the deep end. And so, now I'm actually just going back to the classics, to be honest. So that's where I'm at, 70s and earlier.
Well, thank you for joining us for this epic 2007 film.
So glad to talk about it. It was such a great watch.
Seems like you've spent a lot of time educating yourself and really diverse interests. And hey, how about Wild Hogs?
That's why I can't wait to give the score.
Oh my gosh. If you're in puberty, I'm in my infancy. That's all I have to say. I don't know anything.
And you went to film school, man.
And I did go to film school. I
Wow,
studied shots and types of shots.
That's not uncommon. That's not uncommon because we knew the assistant producer for Soul. And he was like, yeah, if you are working on a set, you have to know these indies because everybody talks about them.
Yeah, I just make up an excuse to use the bathroom as soon as that conversation pops up.
Exactly.
So I'm excited to start to dive into this with you guys and Nick. And if you haven't listened to the show before, the first half of the show will be discussing and reviewing Wild Hogs. And then the second half will feature our Battle of Twits, a creative competition this week featuring Ben and myself again. The current leaderboard sits with Ben at 8, myself at 6, Wes and the guests are at 4, and Emily is at 0.
Ben, is this your third time getting up to the top?
I'm close, yeah.
He's never been blanked.
Are you calling your shot today, Matt?
No, never.
I think we can pretty much guarantee that's not going to happen today with how Matt went about question 1. But
So anyway, let's get into Wild Hogs. Can't wait. So this was directed by Walt Becker, featuring John Travolta, Tim Allen, Martin Lawrence, and William H. Macy.
Yeah, my man.
What is he doing in this movie?
All-star
He doesn't even know.
I have my
he's
theories.
the only one in this movie as far as I'm concerned.
Fellas, get up out there. More room for us, huh? Come on. You like what you see? Huh? Let's get involved.
Middle-aged men decide to leave their suburban life for a week to travel cross-country to the Pacific Ocean on their motorcycles.
Right away, we're introduced to 4 middle-aged men. You've got Doug, which is Tim Allen, and he's a dentist. Because that's
There you go.
the worst job, and he has a
I'm a
gorgeous
doctor.
wife. I know, right? And then you have Woody, who's John Travolta, and he's married to a supermodel, but going through a divorce. And then you have Bobby, who's played by Martin Lawrence, and he's a failed writer and is now a plumber, or was a plumber, is now back to plumbing.
He's still plumbing, and I think he's just aspiring writer, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then you have Dudley, which is William H. Macy, and we just don't know what he is.
I want to say he's some kind of like Silicon Valley tech. He's like the up and coming CEO of some up and coming.
Except he knows nothing about computers, as we see in the coffee shop. His computer rebelling against him and opening up a bunch of porn sites.
Yeah.
Siri failed him.
Right.
I want to give everybody a little treat, a little quick insight to a teaser observation, because I think these 4 archetypes, they were very obvious right away. So I took this note. So he doesn't get respected because he's a dentist who needs to be healthier. He isn't respected because he makes less money than his wife and is a plumber. He doesn't get ladies because he's nerdy and spastic. He doesn't have respect because he's bad at business, broke, getting a divorce, and tries to exploit child labor.
And he's supposed to be the cool one.
What about that last one?
It's a little of an extreme take, but after we find out that Travolta doesn't have any money, he goes out to argue with a kid who was going to rake his lawn and yells at the kid because he put up a sign that said, any lawn, $10, but Travolta lives in a mansion who has a massive lawn. So the kid's like, this is ridiculous. And he's like, it's not my fault you put $10 any lawn.
That was just so, wow. Yeah, dad joke on beyond belief.
Yeah. And that's really what this movie is. It's a dad movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And for that reason, like the PG-13 rating really threw me right off the bat, because I was expecting this family Disney movie. And then when that scene in the coffee shop happened where like the different porno sites are popping up, like I was immediately thrown off. Like, what am I watching? Like,
me too.
Because I was going to invite my daughter to watch this. And like 5 minutes in, I'm like, oh my God, I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild how, I had to look it up and I was like, they were talking about Disney and I was like, oh, Touchstone. That's right. The people that did National Treasure and shit. So it's like,
yep.
Now that makes sense. It's like literally Disney's way of saying shit on screen.
Yep.
Just like right off the bat, it's like, who is this movie for? With it's a dad movie, you called it, but it's for dads that hate themselves, right?
I think it's like men expect to go through like some kind of crisis in their life. So it's like, oh, this is what would happen and this is how we would resolve it. Kind of like a dream almost.
Right. But this is like every trope out there when it comes to midlife crises for middle-aged men.
Exactly.
It just kind of fully encompasses that. I know that there are things out there like, oh, I have to buy a new car, or I have to go fuck a bunch of people, or I have to go do this thing and make a lot of money and change my career. But it just seems like all of them at once suddenly being this big trope of middle-aged crisis.
And if it's for middle-aged men, why would you make it PG-13? That's the part I don't get. Like, that's why the question of who is this for constantly came up for me, because if you want to have this midlife crisis thing and push the line and appeal to middle-aged men, you don't make it PG-13.
Yeah, it needs to be The Hangover.
Yeah, right?
I would even say not necessarily who is this for, but why did Disney make this movie?
Yeah.
I think they're both kind of two sides of the same question. But, if you're making this movie for what I wrote down multiple times was fragile male egos.
Yes.
Yeah. And since I said it, I got to say it. The chugging of gravy and eating a stick of butter to prove that he's a man
Oh my
was
God.
just the epitome of what I think is wrong with male self-esteems.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and take it a step further. I think that's just Tim Allen and his comedy. Like I'm going to mansplain what's wrong and how meat is good for men, and each one of these hollow characters surrounding him, like his child being like, Dad, you're LDLs or whatever. And he's just like, shut up. I'm a man and I know what's good for me. I hated every second of that scene. Oh my God.
It was quite bizarre.
Well, and the fragility of the men also comes through in the way that it depicts homophobia within this movie.
Yeah, I agree. I actually made a note of that for sure.
Yeah. We're introduced to a sheriff character played by John C. McGinley, or Dr. Cox from Scrubs, and he's gay, and he stumbles upon the campsite where they're all kind of hanging out, and he interprets them being there and William H. Macy being in his underwear as the four of them having had the gay orgy the night before.
Sure.
I'm not arguing at all with your point and where we're going with this, but I have to clarify how I viewed a little bit of that situation. He didn't stumble upon them. He parked like 50 feet away and walked to stand at the foot of a bed of four sleeping men until they woke up. At which point they, before noticing him, and I'm going to read this entire dialogue here between all four of them.
Oh, beautiful.
Get it, Wesley. That's what I'm talking about.
Boy, my ass is sore. Mine too. It's Woody's fault for riding us so hard yesterday. The human body wasn't made to straddle something that big for that long. It's gotta hurt a little. It's all part of the experience. That's why we didn't bring our wives. Can someone tell me why I'm on the ground? When I was the one who got a sore jaw from 3 hours of blowing, and that's when they notice a cop standing at the foot of their bed.
What the fuck?
I rewatched it 5 times to make sure I got it right.
5 times, huh, Wes?
I did not catch every single one of those. I only caught a couple because I was just so astonished. But I shouldn't be because it's 2007.
Yeah,
and
right.
oh, it was so fucked up. And they don't let it go. They don't let it go because then it comes back and he's there again and they have to make the gay joke again. And it's completely inappropriate. And I was so pissed about it.
Well, that one you're talking about is where they're swimming in like the natural spring, naked, skinny dipping, and a family stumbles upon them, and one of the dad of the family grabs John Travolta's wiener, and then Dr. Cox shows up, and thank God that's the last we see of him, because I wouldn't have been able to accept a state trooper making the trip all the way to New Mexico just to hound these four men.
Just to get him.
Right. And it's not just Dr. Cox as the gay sheriff that makes this movie homophobic. There's specific lines where William H. Macy sniffs the hair when he's riding behind or riding, quote unquote, bitch. And he's like, he calls him like gay. And like the movie just stinks of like having this like fragile male ego vibe to it. And it's just, and it doesn't leave you the entire movie. It sticks around. It becomes more and more about the confrontation with the bikers as it goes on. But it's like it leaves a sour taste in your mouth from the start.
I mean, wasn't that kind of like the time where like the whole metrosexual image was like out and about and people were accepting it, and like that was pretty much the peak of where it was?
In movies, there was a lot of homophobia, as we are learning through this podcast.
No doubt. And
a lot of just openly accepted gay jokes during this time period.
Yeah, but Nick, you're right, that metrosexuality idea of where Queer Eye for the Straight Guy first came out, and it was kind of embraced more culturally, just the acceptance of like that gay lifestyle. That has not reflected in the movies we've seen yet. So I don't know if this was just right at that time where, you know, movies take a little while to make, and maybe the culture was turning before the movies could.
Yeah, like they were able to kind of like say the things they were because of the attitude of the culture at the time, you know? I mean, obviously, like we're saying, like there's so many just like cringy films. I don't know. It's like almost like they were trying to embrace them, but it was like you just didn't do it well at all. Like just failed completely.
So great setup for a great movie.
It's such a good movie. Did anyone have any scenes in the first act they like before I move on to the second act?
Surprisingly, I actually do.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised. Okay.
Yes. It is probably the only time in the movie that I kind of laughed inside. And it's very...
strong sentiment from Wes.
It's in Bobby's kind of backstory-ish thing when he gets called in to do his first plumbing job, and the cashier behind the gas station desk starts listing things after he tells him that the toilet has basically been destroyed. 2 lines back to back as Bobby is walking towards the bathroom from the cashier are, "I saw my father shot. I never cried until today." And then the next line is, "I got robbed yesterday, and I know that your job is the bad one." So I was like, okay, like it's a dumb way to set up that he's got a shitty life, but those are pretty funny jokes and ways to go about it.
Mm-hmm.
See, I think William H. Macy, I'm kind of with you on the whole like hiding my laugh. Like William H. Macy is just he does that whole ditwit act so well. So I can always just kind of appreciate his mannerisms, I suppose. So I laughed at I suppose that, but
I expected more from John Travolta after seeing our first movie with him, Hairspray. And so I was a little disappointed.
See, I've seen enough John Travolta to know to expect nothing.
And that when you see something, you're pleasantly surprised.
That's right.
You don't know us. You don't think I know you? Well, you're probably a podiatrist or ear, nose, and throat specialist.
I wish.
Orthodontist.
Oh, close enough.
And you, Bobby, guaranteed you're henpecked, right? Your wife wears the pants.
You know my wife?
And you anal retentive wimp.
Wow, you're good. What color am I thinking of?
Shut up!
The boys arrive in biker country and find a scary biker bar run by the Del Fuego gang, headed up by Jack Blade, played by Ray Liotta. Dudley gets tricked into trading his bike for a broken down piece of shit.
I love that.
They leave defeated, but Woody goes back to steal the bike, cuts all the gas lines of the Del Fuego bar, and accidentally helps blow up the bar. When running away, the Wild Hogs run out of gas and push their bikes to Madrid, New Mexico, where they learn the town is terrorized by the Del Fuegos.
Oh, man. Yeah, so I actually really enjoyed Ray Liotta. I think he is an affirmed badass. And I think like that whole 10 years right after Goodfellas, he was like, I'm going to nail every single character. Like, I'm not going to read anybody else's character. I'm just going to own my character.
Yeah, especially in B-movie.
I feel like that's what he did. Yeah, especially, well, most of them I feel like were, so he just gets it.
Yeah, I will definitely say you cannot fault Ray Liotta for not committing to this role.
No, sir.
100%.
I also want to point out that Ben's reaction to Matt's Act 2 recap is how I spent most of this movie. Just both hands in my eyes, just going like, what? What have I done in my life that has led me to have to do this?
Your friend choices.
Yeah, fair enough.
There's not a lot of redeeming things from this movie that I can be like, oh, that was fun or that was nice.
I liked the explosion.
The explosion of the bar?
It was a good explosion.
It was a good explosion. But
it was.
Something that kind of threw me off was this movie's only like an hour and 40 minutes. And I swear they devoted 4 minutes to Kyle Gass just singing at the fair.
My God.
Oh my God.
I noticed that too. I was so thrown off. I was like, really, Kyle?
I was going to wait until the third act to bring that up, but...
Wait, okay, so... once they get to, is it Madrid is how they called it? The city?
Yeah, Madrid.
Yeah, I suppose.
When they get there, there's a fair going on. And who's the guy that's singing the whole time? I did not recognize him. I don't know who that is.
From Tenacious D.
Oh, okay. I know who he is. Yep. I didn't recognize him without Jack Black. So
I'm sure he gets that a lot.
You know who I do like, who was a minor character? I liked the second in command, Ray Liotta, who kept getting punched every time he said something stupid.
The tough guy from Lost, and also the big guy from Lost.
Yeah, they were both from Lost.
Yeah, I wrote down the tough guy from Lost because that's all I recognize him from. I always liked him. I kind of like his lispy way he talks. But yeah, as soon as you had two characters from Lost show up as what we find out to be direct companions for the rest of the movie, I was like, this is silly. But yeah, just something I was not expecting from this movie was the depth of recognizable actors and just cast and cameos that we had. We glazed over it because it's not impressive, and then I don't want to throw that in with this, but in the first act, they did have the father and one of the sons from that motorcycle reality TV show.
Oh, American Chopper?
Yeah, as that was terrible. But so right from then, I knew that there were going to be a lot of people in this movie. So when Ray Liotta showed up, these two guys from Lost, Kyle Gass was really funny. The Sklar brothers was really funny, even though they were not. But like just them being cast in this,
just
like
seeing it. Yeah.
Are you talking about the one with the ear?
Yeah.
Issue?
Yeah, the Sklar brothers are pretty
Yeah.
famous comedians. So yeah, they're twins, and they end up as the sheriff's help. Which, can we talk about the sheriff at all yet? How do you emasculate a officer of the law to the point where he feels like random other dudes need to go out and introduce justice because he's scared of other people?
What's the actor's name?
Stephen Tobolowsky.
And what do I know him from? Because I recognize
He's
him.
in everything.
Yeah. Groundhog Day.
Silicon Valley.
He's a character actor. He'll show up in a lot of movies and you'll just be like, oh, that's that guy.
Yeah, I think he's in a Todd Solondz film for anybody listening out there that knows.
He's in Spaceballs. That's where I know him from.
Okay.
And we haven't even hit Marissa Tomei yet, the love interest.
I know, right? Like,
well, because she didn't get to do anything.
She's awesome.
She's gorgeous.
Looked incredible in the movie.
Wesley.
Got like 2 lines.
That was the only thing that saved the end of this movie was like, oh, Marissa Tomei's here. Like, everything's going to be okay.
My wife is totally cool with that crush, man.
Yeah, right?
Aunt May.
Yeah, that's actually what I said too. I was like, oh, it's Aunt May.
I always think of her from My Cousin Vinny.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that chord scene is, she delivers.
Yeah.
What I found interesting was this Del Fuego gang because it's very much just a stereotypical depiction of a biker gang. And in fact, they tried to call them the Hells Angels.
And then they got sued.
But then Disney got sued for trying to use the Hells Angels name, which is trademarked.
Was it the name or the symbol?
The name.
It's funny to picture Hell's Angels with a lawyer showing up in court being like,
I can't imagine how many lawyers they have, actually.
Right?
Your Honor, we're going to stop this fucking bullshit movie. But they were right. They were right to not be associated with it, right?
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Well, absolutely. They're made to be the villains. Why would any organization want to be shown as that? Like, even if you are known for, not being...
Well, you have The Sopranos. The people from Newark actually liked The Sopranos and started to dress like them.
Right. And then also just objecting to it is kind of uncool as well. It's like, think about how, like, if we had, like, a movie fighting terrorism and then, like, ISIS got a bunch of lawyers and they're like, no. Yeah, I mean, you got to hand it to ISIS for at least...
You got to hand it to them, man.
I Drink Your Podcast does not condone anything ISIS does. I just want to make sure that's on the record.
Also, I Drink Your Podcast does not correlate Hells Angels to ISIS. No. So we don't want that coming from either direction.
Listen, if you guys want to come after anyone, don't come after I Drink Your Podcast. Come after me.
We're going to get sued over Wild Hogs, man.
I'm John Travolta to this podcast as...
Matt on point with the correlations today.
He's crushing it today.
But that biker game they sucked.
Well, they just had no
In summary.
No logic. Like from when we first meet them, they're harassing people that come into their bar, which sure, I can understand a biker gang not wanting outsiders, especially people that they think are posers, but they are just like rude for rude's sake, mean for mean's sake, trick some guy who is into the same things that they're into, and they rob and kick out these people immediately. Like they're just dicks.
I know it's like they're right on them, and I thought that was the one thing I noticed. It's just like, really, right off the bat, just get at them.
Yeah. I honestly did not have a strong reaction to the biker gang whatsoever because I was too distracted by when Ray Liotta was laughing. I just got the gif stuck in my head from Goodfellas.
That's such a good one.
I wish that had happened to me.
So I really didn't care about the biker gang. I didn't think there was that great of motivation, but I didn't think the Wild Hogs as their own little 4-person gang had that much of motivation either. Like, we're going to go across the country.
Absolutely.
That's a great point. And I think up until the third act, we really don't see a movie. Like the first 2 acts could have been half of an act. And I think the thing that upset me the most, other than the lack of story, there's no stakes for anybody other than proving that they're still viable men in society.
I'll disagree with stakes, though, Wesley, because John Travolta's character starts lying to his friends. It was the only interesting part of this movie.
Very true.
John Travolta's character was lying to his friends the entire movie because he never told them about being divorced and losing all of his money.
Correct.
Right. But I mean, specifically about blowing up the gas station.
Sure.
And now they're being chased and he's the only one that knows.
No, and
that was
fair.
the only interesting thing.
So, yeah, and that is the launching point of what I would consider the only plot in this movie, which is them blowing up the bar, a gang trying to come after them, and them going to this small off-the-highway road. And what really bothers me is that this is a movie about a cross-country road trip that in the first 2 acts, they travel from Ohio to New Mexico and the only thing they do is camp and go skinny dipping. And then the rest of the movie is in a small town where a sheriff doesn't have any power. There's only one road in and out of the town. People are scared of anybody who wears leather because they think they're part of the Del Fuego gang.
Ooh, maybe they're just scared of leather.
No, they're afraid of the Del Fuegos. We know, 'cause they accept the Wild Hogs
The
pretty
danger
quickly.
is real.
Yeah. No, but I absolutely hated that. How this cross-country road, and it really started off mostly because I'm from Cincinnati. And so them coming from Cincinnati, I was so excited for like something in Cincinnati. And then they pretty quickly left. And then all of a sudden we're in New Mexico. And I was like, what the fuck? There's a whole half of a country here.
Yeah, they do just kind of jump there, don't they?
Yeah, Wes, you're making a really great point because like in really good road trip movies, there's multiple stops along the way where it just, there's like shenanigans that happen, like Tommy Boy, in Chef, in
Vacation, Euro Trip.
Yeah, all good road trip movies have things that happen logically. So it makes me wonder maybe something was cut from the script.
I doubt that there was something cut from the script. But I will say all of the long shots of them just riding their bikes for just endless amounts of time, it felt like on screen. That was the stupidest thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't handle it.
I kind of have a response there too, because I mean, I think with the introduction of Peter Fonda at the end, this is clearly just taking bits and pieces from Easy Rider. Correct. I mean, that's who it's made for. It's people who grew up watching it, people who listen to the music. I mean, that's the one thing I hate about a lot of movies. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I do like a lot of rock and roll, but like when you have to use a 70s rock band for like Thor Ragnarok, you know what I'm saying? It's like these constant use of like 70s, and not only that, but the entire soundtrack is just these 70s rock bands.
Unless you're Highlander.
Okay, there you go. I won't go there then.
No, I totally agree with you, Nick. But yes, I have a strong affinity to 70s bands.
But yes, I do love mine. It's just clearly a ripoff of
Right.
Easy Rider.
Yeah, I can see that.
Bar burned down.
Yeah. These posers, these 4 posers right here.
4 guys stand off. 50 bikers. And they're the posers.
When 2 biker guys show up at the Madrid fair, Martin Lawrence stands up to them and covers them with ketchup and mustard. The town celebrates the Wild Hogs as heroes, and they party all night. The next day, the Del Fuegos show up and take over Maggie's diner, ready to fight/kill the Wild Hogs. The boys get their asses handed to them over and over again, but the town comes together to fight back. Although Damian Blade, Jack's father, shows up and stops the Del Fuegos. Everything works out in the end, and the Wild Hogs end up nominating the Del Fuegos for Extreme Home Makeover to get them a new bar. The only part that I enjoyed was the credit sequence, Extreme
Me
Home
too.
Makeover.
No, Matt, I gotta agree with you.
I agree also.
That was very 2007.
It definitely was. But what I really liked was just, I liked the way that the actors who played the bikers kind of portrayed a more sensitive side. Like at that time, they kind of veered away from the stereotypical depiction of it and were like, let's just be silly. And I appreciated that silliness.
Ray Liotta trying to hold back crying.
Yes,
like
that was
oh my god,
beautiful.
It was just the first like private cut to Ray by himself. It was just like
This was one part I debated. I didn't know if he was crying or if he was like actually like just mad and couldn't like, he wanted to like let it out. I honestly debated it. I still don't know.
Nick, I initially thought that too. I was like, oh, wow, he is pissed.
that officially makes this art.
Stop.
For us to not be able to decide what his intentions were.
Ray Liotta
it makes
delivering
you feel
again.
something and internalize it, and the art lives within you through Ray Liotta's acting. Now, I will say, Act 3 bothered the fuck out of me because none of the resolutions were earned. All of a sudden,
they weren't.
Tim Allen's
Fell to
son
pieces.
respects him. Martin Lawrence tells his wife off. She's like, okay, you're right. And William H. Macy gets the girl.
Gets the hot girl.
Gets the hottest girl.
Importantly, yeah.
Apologies to Marissa Tomei.
And John Travolta tells his friends the truth, and they're all friends again.
It's just absolute bullshit. None of it was earned.
No, it completely fell to pieces. I was definitely lost by the time that I think John Travolta was trying to make it up with his friends. I was just like, oh, I guess they're getting close to the end now.
Yep.
This is another perfect example of what we've seen so many times already on this show from movies we watched from 2007, of the core issue for the entire driving force of the plot is someone wasn't honest.
Mhm.
And I fucking hate those kind of plot driven devices where if John Travolta had just told his friends like, yeah, my wife left me and I don't have any money, this wouldn't have been a problem. If John Travolta had just told them that, oh, I blew up the bar, instead of making up this insane lie.
That was such a stupid story.
Yeah, this insane lie that he threatened them with legal actions and they all just backed down because bikers respect the law.
Which interestingly could have been a rewrite after Hell's Angels stood up to them in court.
Hey. I wonder what this was first received as, like when like who was like, yeah, this is good. Like, let's send this out.
Well, I think it made some money.
It made a lot of money.
It did?
Yeah, it did. It made like a quadrupled it or something.
I refuse to believe that.
It made enough to where they wanted to do a sequel. Only a few years after this one, the director and John Travolta made a movie called Old Dogs, which, if you ever listen to How Did This Get Made, that's the movie that inspired How Did This Get Made to start their podcast, because that movie is so bad. And it was so bad that it actually tanked any prospects for this to get a sequel.
Huh.
I definitely remember reading something like that. I definitely appreciate that trivia.
After this movie, I had to look it up, and this movie is at a 14% on the tomato meter on Rotten Tomatoes, but is at a 61% on the audience score. So I think that is a perfect example of why this movie might not be considered a bomb, even though it's just straight trash garbage.
Well, I think one of the reasons that it's not considered a bomb is because of the way that it panders to middle America. Like we talked about how like Cincinnati to New Mexico, nothing was filmed in Cincinnati. The only reason they did that was so that there was a distance that they had to travel and that they could do shots of different countryside looks of like, oh, that's what Nebraska fucking looks like. Like there's corn. Like it's all pandering. And the worst example of this is the way that they treat Martin Lawrence's character in this movie.
Thank you. Thank you for addressing
And
this.
there's something about family movies that I really hate, which is that when they choose to cast a black male, it's almost always in a role that causes them to be emasculated in some way so that middle white America cannot feel threatened by the black male.
And can accept his tragedy.
Absolutely. And I fucking hate that. Like this is a straight white movie that just so happens to have Martin Lawrence in it.
Absolutely. I was completely bothered by that. I was like, are we not going to, I mean, I definitely put that in my Letterboxd review. It's like, they basically bring up a lot of issues that want to be confrontational and they just kind of like pretend to embrace it when really it's just like, no, you're just making fun of it still. And I definitely feel like a lot of movies like this take advantage. I mean, I hate to use the word token, but when that whole like use of the token black guy, this is a horrible, perfect example of it. You know what I mean?
No, it definitely is. And actually, I was talking to Ben a little bit about this, and he kind of disagrees with me. I felt that his wife was kind of the token angry black lady as well. And I just didn't feel like any of that was appropriate. They were trying to build up this stereotypical persona to make that white middle America more accepting of the black man, essentially. And it just, 2007, you guys.
I know, right?
It just makes me think.
That pre-Obama era.
Yep.
Right. But even post-Obama era.
Well, sure.
It's in bad taste. It doesn't make anyone feel good. And it shouldn't have happened. You know, they definitely went with, and even this is for most of the characters, they kept them very superficial and not super controversial whatsoever. You don't really root for anyone. And the only woman in this that's kind of understanding and has a little bit of a connection is Doug's wife. I don't even think Maggie has really any sort of role with this where she's actually interesting, but Doug's wife was somewhat supportive, but also had her own thing going on, which was nice for me to see a glimpse of. But the rest of it, it was just Pieces of shit. Hogwash.
You can sometimes tell when movies start with the characters first versus the plot first, and this movie very much feels like it
punches you in the face.
I want 4 guys to battle a biker gang, and that's where they started. And then from that, they tried to build a movie around that plot idea instead of starting with characters that are interesting that you want to root for.
Right. What's their problems? What are their arcs?
Right.
They didn't address any of those things.
No.
It definitely feels like a super well-funded movie that just was beyond poorly written. You know what I mean? Just like, we have all the money in the world. We can get anybody to come on. We can put all the songs on. We just don't care who directs it, and we don't care what happens.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a great point, too, to why there's such a wide array of recognizable cast members.
Mm-hmm.
So the money was not the question, but everything else just felt so lazy. Like, the jokes, none of them landed. None of them felt new. The soundtrack itself, like you had already mentioned, like is Easy Rider, just trying to make people feel nostalgic. The character arcs are, if you didn't guess where the character's story would end at the beginning of this movie, come on.
Yeah, right.
You're part of the 61% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, I think.
Wesley, you got any observations for us?
These are just a few of our incredible thoughts.
Oh, boy, do I. I said it from the beginning. I got very disappointed that Cincinnati did not play a larger role in this movie. Here's a fun quote for you guys that I know you're all going to love. Want Granny to take her teeth out?
No. Oh my
What?
I don't remember
That's
that.
what when William H. Macy tells his computer weird sex or whatever, that's the porn that starts playing in the coffee shop. But also, that's not how the internet works. That's not how porn works. That's also not how computers work if you pour water on them. So that pretty much sucked all around. William H. Macy's bicycle outfit basically looked like a gimp suit without a full face covering. I think we know why Woody is broke. Less than 20 minutes into this movie, we have already broken 5 cell phones, and 2 of them were destroyed and owned by Woody. So pretty reckless with your dark colored Razor phone there. No resolution or reason for the bull slapping thing. They just
I
end up
forgot about that.
cutting away at the end after he launches Martin Lawrence into the air.
Oh, you know what? Can I interrupt real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so I literally thought they were going to add the shenanigans of the bull to the end and to knock all the bikers over. Like,
Can
that's
I interrupt
what
you real quick?
was going to happen.
Here's the next sentence I have written. The fact that the bull didn't come back to help them fight Del Fuegos is infuriating.
Yes! Wesley, I love you.
Exactly. Yeah. That scene was just mind-blowing that the sheriff is like, hey, let's go out away from this party and slap a bull's ass real quick. And then also, just side note, they left William H. Macy for multiple hours at this fair where apparently he's just been on his own and he ate chili at one point, but that's it. And then they come back and the next time they see him, it's nighttime. So William H. Macy had hours during this movie of where he already ran away from the girl and was just doing what until his friends came back from slapping a bull's ass. This movie sucked.
I kind of missed when he got that tattoo. Like I watched it twice, I think now. When did he get that tattoo?
The apple tattoo?
Yeah. It seemed like it healed very quickly.
Yes, it was like very sudden. He's like, I got it. It's burned in my body.
Time means nothing in this movie.
Math is a really cool thing. So get off your ass, let's do some math. Math.
So Doug's wife accidentally lets slip that Bobby is not at the plumber convention. And so Bobby's wife freaks out and is like, oh, we have to go there right away. And I'm like, okay, from Cincinnati to New Mexico, how far is it? It's about 1,400 miles if you drive. And I was thinking, okay, well, what time is it right now? They're partying and they're celebrating. It's got to be somewhere nighttime, like at least 8 p.m. And that's being generous. Like it's probably midnight, you know? So my thought is, okay, how long did it take them to get there? Well, the Del Fuegos were there in the morning and the minivan showed up pretty soon, like an hour after that, maybe an hour and a half after that. And I was like, shit, how fast did they drive to get to New Mexico? Any guesses?
170.
it would probably be close to 12 hours, right?
It's a little bit more than that, but approximately 12 hours. I tried to be a little bit more nicer to just give them a little extra time. But essentially, with the time zone difference and getting there, they would have to go at least 107 miles per hour the whole time. And this is no brakes. This is in a minivan that has 25 miles per gallon, and they have 20 gallons in the car.
Oh, yeah, I gotcha.
And then I was like, okay, if they stop for gas 3 times, because that's approximately what they would need to actually make it. You know, even if I just added an extra half hour on that, they still need to go like 110 miles per hour the whole time. And there's a fucking kid in the car. I don't know. Doesn't seem believable to me.
Yeah.
Ben, you've got a game for us, don't you?
I do. I think we should get our game on.
Okay! Game on! Game on! Game on!
We rolled the dice before we started, and Wesley got pulled up, so Wesley's going to play the game today.
All right.
And for those who don't know, John Travolta had kind of a famous blunder several years back where he mispronounced Idina Menzel's name as Adele Dazeem at the Oscars. And because of that, Slate made a John Travolta name generator. So what I'm going to do, Wesley, is you need to tell me if this is a John Travolta character,
okay,
or if it's how John Travolta would mispronounce his castmates' names from Wild Hogs.
Ben, do you have like an example of like one of our names, John Travolta's?
Oh yeah,
that would be really great to hear. Do Matt Anderson.
So Matt Anderson changes it to Max Andrinson.
That's so good.
This is a John Travolta character from another movie or
Correct.
one of his castmates from Wild Hogs.
Yep, just with the name mispronounced the way John Travolta would mispronounce it.
Okay.
So I need 60 seconds on the clock, and away we go. George Malley.
Travolta character.
Correct. James Ubriaco.
Mispronunciation.
Incorrect. Wallace Morphe.
Mispronunciation.
Correct. Jan Schlichtman.
Character?
Correct. Martin Lee.
Mispronunciation.
Correct. Todd Lubitsch.
Character.
Correct. Roddy Spears.
Mispronunciation.
Correct. Mark Granite.
Mispronunciation.
Correct. Emil Kovac.
Character.
Correct. Steven Taisler.
Mispronunciation.
Correct. Kieran Diza.
Mispronunciation.
Correct. Raymond Cutter.
Character.
Correct. Oh my God.
Good Lord.
Wow, he cracked the code after
Insane.
one.
Did I miss one?
You got one wrong. That's incredible.
Holy
So
shit.
He's got that Travolta instinct.
No, you know
Jeez.
what? My assumption as like the math in me, you were thinking, okay, it's probably going to be like 2 and then alternate a little
No.
bit. Damn it.
No, I didn't take the SAT.
No, he has the Travolta feel.
yeah, right.
Yeah, no, that's like how Anakin was that special human who could pod race. That was Wesley making split-second decisions.
Me and Jake Lloyd.
There's a fork in the road, and he's like, right, left, right, 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 left, left, right.
So congrats, Wesley. You earned yourself a Twits point.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Those are hard to come by when
Beautiful.
you're always judging.
Good job, man. That was great.
Thank you. That I honestly feel like I feel really good right now.
Good. I'm with you on that one. Ding, ding. That was
Matt,
great.
you have a plot summary for us.
The less you do, the more you do. Let's see it pop up. Pop it up. That's not it at all.
4 unlikable, homophobic, middle-aged men go on a road trip without their cell phones or their families. Nothing is learned in this movie except you shouldn't wear a helmet if you want to be cool.
Nick, you want to give us your review?
Woo-wee. By far one of the strangest A-list not fitting casts I've ever watched. The slapstick is cheap, as is the music. Every situation is either too afraid of a certain subject matter or embraces them too strongly that it is off-putting. Ray Liotta is a badass, but that's all this movie has. Everyone tries to own their own character, but it is as if they read the script and never talked about it with anyone. There's no chemistry in the characters, which obviously never makes for a great film, and the humor falls short at every turn. It's like a bunch of celebrities got together to portray middle-class, middle-aged men who they can never relate to, try to make Easy Rider, and that's too much of a compliment because Peter Fonda appears, that just bursts into flames for 100 minutes.
Excellent.
Very nice. And now it's time to get hog wild and play Battle of the Twits. I will rev 3 cylinders of questions for our poser biker gang members. The loudest engine of each round will get 1 parking lot paved with leather. Second place gets his cell phone trashed because you're a man and you don't need no damn technology because you're young and important and desirable and your dick works real good and you like meat and gravy and who's going to tell you no? I will be more satisfied by the most New Mexico based answers and sound effects driven answers. That one doesn't quite make sense because I didn't end up talking about the sound effects in this movie.
That's okay.
Yeah, whatever. The sound effects in this movie were wild. I don't know if you guys heard that.
You know, honestly, the sound editing wasn't bad from like an editing perspective, but yes, it was kind of wild. It was just like your stereotypical like boing, you know, like whatever, you know.
The one I just have to call out is when Dr. Cox jumps naked into the pond. It's literally like it's like a laser sound effect. It doesn't make any sense. He jumps into the pond. It's like
it's far too loud.
So anyway, Hog Boys, are you ready?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right. So who among us doesn't dream every single night about being one of the elusive members of the Wild Hogs biker gang? Exactly. Saviors of Madrid. But what if you could put together your own team with other fictional characters? So I want you to draft your gang, but you will need to include someone to be the cool one, the nerdy one, and the token minority.
Just like Wild Hogs.
Just like this beautiful, beautiful, perfect movie. Matt, why don't you go first?
Oh, fictional characters still does not work for me, but I'm ready to go. So my nerdy character is going to be Steve Urkel. So when you have him crash into something, he could pull off and be like, did I do that? And it would just crush with the squad. The boys would love it. Next would be the cool guy hanging on to his youth would be AC Slater, a.k.a. Mario Lopez, forever young. And he would be able to bring that machoism while still being, you know, a nice, loving leader. And finally, my diversity hire or my token character is going to be Caitlyn Jenner. Not because she's trans, but because she's ultra rich. And we all come from a lower level of income and poverty, you might say. So we just need that. We need a rich person in this crew. So,
wow. That
okay. All
crew
right.
does
All right.
not
I hear you.
seem fun to hang out with.
Yeah, that definitely seems like a fairly lame crew.
We got Steve Urkel, AC Slater, and Caitlyn Jenner. Has anyone ever seen all 3 of them in the same room at the same time?
I'm pretty sure we're going to Photoshop that at some point.
Yeah, it sounds like
I saw him at the
happen.
country club last weekend.
Nick's one of those token rich guys.
Yeah, out in Summerfield, North Carolina.
What brought Steve Urkel into the biker gang world?
I just pictured someone who didn't, you know, your ultimate fish out of water, and someone who always makes me smile, and somebody with a catchphrase, because, you know, I think a lot of the times you get a nerd who's too nerdy. And with Steve Urkel, that catchphrase, everybody just falls back in love. So that's why I picked Steve Urkel. But he's more of a fish out of water, much like William H. Macy was in this movie, and one of the only good characters in this movie.
Sure. Why are they fun to hang out with?
Well, that's great. Great question, Emily. So Caitlyn Jenner obviously buys all the alcohol, you know, when we go to the biker gang,
there you go.
We're all at the bar. She's getting all the rounds. People are going to mess with her because they're fucking backwards in their minds. Right. And AC Slater, he like changes hearts and souls. You know, he like people fall in love with him. and he teaches them the errors of their ways. And then, you have a goofball just in case, the wild card, Steve Urkel, who trips over the jukebox and blows up the gas station or blows up the biker bar. And he's like, did I do that? And
you have a lot of trust in Slater.
Yeah, I personally feel like I would watch AC Slater, aka Mario Lopez, in anything he does, just because he's just so endearing. Like it can be a game show, it can be a talk show. I just believe in every project he does, just because he's got that star power, name power.
All right, let's move on to let's hear what Ben's gang is.
So my nerdy one is going to be Max Fisher from Rushmore. Max is super eclectic and he's got many interests, and talking to him will never get boring because of that. He's also not afraid to get into a little kerfuffle for the things he loves. Also, when your nerdy guy is also a bit of a ladies' man, that can only help your group. My cool one is Wee Herman from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Pee-wee oozes cool. He wins over everyone he meets, including a biker gang after destroying their bikes. Not even Travolta was cool enough to do that.
That's true.
Plus, have you seen his bike? That thing is decked out and it's got an awesome fucking basket. Like, I want to ride along with him. Also, he's a ladies' man. He got Dottie at the end. And my token minority is Pedro Sanchez from Napoleon Dynamite, because Pedro's got a fucking sledgehammer. That bike is sick. It's got shocks and everything, and will go off a ton of sweet jumps. And Pedro's loyal. He's a guy who will stay by your side and even recruit his family members to help the group if needed. Plus, ladies, man.
I have a question.
Yeah?
Because it's been a while since I've seen Napoleon Dynamite. Is this a biker gang or a bicycle gang?
I can't ride a motorcycle, so I had to pick all people who rode bicycles.
Am I right in remembering that Max Fisher does ride a bike in Rushmore?
Yeah, they all ride bicycles.
Absolutely. Yeah, okay. That's what I thought.
That's
so
the whole point of that.
This actually is a bicycle gang.
Yes, it is. Well, biker. We're bikers.
Specifically.
Why is it so fun to hang out with them?
I mean, they're all just super personable. Like they're all got close friends in their movies, so they clearly know how to make friends. And I'm a very personable person, and we're all ladies' men, so we're all gonna like hit the bars and pick up chicks. And and I'll be the lead dog among these three. Like, even though Pee-wee Herman's cool, I'm cooler.
Cooler than Pee-wee Herman.
Yeah,
put that on the record.
I'm literally writing it down. All right, perfect. So let's get into question 2. So for question 2 this week, it's going to be my personal favorite, which is a Wesley's
and Emily's
Wandom Westion. We've worked together to compile some delicious Wild Hogs style biker gangs names. I am going to roll a die to see which one of you goes first. Odds is Matt, evens is Ben. It's a 2, so Ben's going to go first. We put together 6 options, so Ben, you're going to get to choose from the first 3. I'm going to roll a d4. 1 through 3 is going to be 1 through 3, and then if it's a 4, I'm going to let Nick pick. So it is a 3, so your biker gang is the Blushing Parrotfish. And while Ben writes his answer...
I don't even know what a parrotfish is.
I don't either.
I got 1 minute to Google a fucking parrotfish.
It's a fish.
So you've got a minute.
Fish.
So in that time, Nick, what have you been watching or anything you want to talk about?
So I would say my latest thing, I was talking about this earlier. It's kind of funny. Everybody goes through in their cinephile experience, the Cassavetes. A Woman Under the Influence is something that really changed me. I never really realized how powerful that movie was in terms of the grand scope of kind of the social awareness and even how to film a situation like that.
What is it about?
It's about a woman who has a mental disorder, and it's one of those movies. He's great. He doesn't tell you what is wrong. It's just clearly there's some mental disorder, and she's married to a city working man. And basically it's about a man and a woman who are they love each other, but they don't understand each other. And the struggle is very personal. It happens in a very insular time and area. And it basically, it's visceral in the sense that like you can see your crazy aunt or crazy mom or crazy sister out of the wife, or your shitty uncle or shitty dad or shitty brother out of the main character, Peter Falk. And it really just I mean, it's definitely an emotional raw ride, but it's people that like Harmony Korine or Safdie Brothers or like Jim Jarmusch. If you can take that kind of stuff, this is like that. It just brings a little more awareness. And Jenna Rowlands actually won Best Actress for that role. So that was that's big.
Yeah, I have never even heard of it. So this does sound really interesting.
Yeah, what was it called again?
A Woman Under the Influence.
Nice. All right, Ben. I meant to say the other two options, and I just want to say them now because Emily and I were both proud of them. So you got Blushing Parrotfish, but your other two options were Whispering Wombats or Uninterested Platypuses.
Oh, man.
Yeah. But let's hear your answer. So
I really wish I had platypuses.
So, Ben, I would love for you to explain how your biker gang got the name of Blushing Parrotfish.
Yeah, so parrotfish, they're colorful, they're proud, they're loyal to their family. But why are they blushing? It's because even though they have frequent sexual encounters, they're all shy and nerdy people who don't like to gloat about it. So they got their name from the local biker chicks who respected them not going around town bragging about their conquests. It's all about respect with this name. They respect the ladies that they sleep with. Just like parrotfish.
And when you say they, you mean us, because this is biker game.
Our biker game. Yeah, they, like the royal they.
The royal they.
How much did you learn about bikerfish in the last 3 minutes?
Bikerfish?
No, parrotfish.
I saw that they had lots of colors, and that was all the further I got.
Probably could have intuited that from parrot.
Probably, but I didn't.
I would have been literal. I would have gone parrot plus fish.
I'm so glad, Wesley, you've left the other ones for him.
Yep. So again, I'm gonna roll this die. 1 through 3 are gonna determine 1 through 3, and if it gets a 4, then Nick gets to pick. So your options are gonna be anxious axolotls, robust poodle moths, or inexpensive panda ants. And it's a 1. You get anxious axolotls.
Can you spell axolotls for him?
AXOLOTLS.
It's a salamander, also known as a Mexican walking fish. Am I right here?
Yeah. All right. So you've got about a minute. We'll give you a little bit more time since Ben had a bit. But Emily, I think you wanted to talk about something that you've recently watched.
I do. I want to talk about Highlander. I mentioned it earlier.
Yes.
But I watched Highlander for the first time so that I could guest on Book Retorts. Some
Nice.
of you, meaning the people that are here right now, minus Nick, know that we did Southland Tales with our extra special friend, Danielle from Book Retorts. And their podcast, they basically explain weird media to one another that is just super obscure, and they just ask questions about it. It's wonderful. And so because I watched Highlander, Sam, her co-host, explained Highlander 2 to me today. And their episode actually releases tomorrow, so I'm very excited that I got to do that. But like, what the actual hell is Highlander? It is incredible. I loved all of the Queen. I loved everything about it. I loved all of the really cheesy flashbacks and special effects with the Return of the Jedi lightning stuff. It was so fun.
It's a hell of a movie. I'm so glad you got to watch it.
That brings us to Matt's time. So, Matt, let's hear about how your biker gang got the name Anxious Axolotls.
We are the Mexican walking fish. We forget to put gas in our bikes sometimes, or do we? Much like the ultimate question, did we leave the stove on? We are always anxious. Always something churning in the back of our mind. But why an anxious axolotl? Well, it's because we are also amphibious. And we love to go take a skinny dip in Caitlyn's pool. We are the anxious axolotl.
Bravo.
I like how you threw a Steel Magnolias accent on skin a day up.
I can't say it any other way.
No.
That was good.
So,
questions.
Yeah. Everyone's into the pool. And did someone like see you guys, or is this something that you call yourselves?
Well, I mean, we call ourselves that, and in turn, people call us that.
Matt, can you define what it means to be amphibious?
Into water. Am I wrong?
So how much of a Jenner's family is there? Do you have the whole family hanging out there, ass and all?
Oh, yeah. Everybody's there.
Oh, good.
But it's much like, it's like a PG-13 movie. We're all under the water, and it's like people can't really see what's happening because the waves are moving,
Ooh, okay.
In a pool?
In a pool.
So you got visual effects going on, man. I fucking love this shit.
Practical effects, but yes.
Practical but useful.
No, yeah, we got a practical effect. We have a PA off camera just being like splish, splish, splish. If it's a movie,
Absolutely.
This is real life to me, okay?
You take it literally. I got you.
So, question 3, and I'll just speak for myself here, but I have so many questions about this rich world that Wild Hogs have traveled through in their past and their adventures and the inevitable, like, what are they going to do next, So help me out. I want you to pitch a reboot, prequel, or sequel to Wild Hogs. And Ben's going to kick us off here.
Now, Wesley, I've heard your criticisms of Wild Hogs, and my sequel is going to fix many of them.
Thank you.
So it's been a peaceful 10 years in Cincinnati for the Wild Hogs since standing up to the Del Fuegos. Each member has seen their quality of life greatly increase as they've come to terms with their aging and the fact that excitement is a thing of the past for them. Until a new biker gang threatens their hometown bar. A biker gang made up entirely of 80 and 90-year-old men. The new rival gang, the Ancient Moths, led by Dick Van Dyke, Michael Caine, and George Takei.
Fuck.
Want the bar for themselves, and in a standoff with the Hogs, cause John Travolta to suffer a heart attack, sidelining him for the rest of the movie. The Ancient Moths, having zero fucks left to give in their old age, challenge the Wild Hogs to a motorcycle race across the country, which the Hogs accept in order to avenge John Travolta. From then, the movie essentially plays out like a road trip version of Grumpy Old Men, as the two gangs are pit against each other in a series of wacky misadventures and constant sabotage. The title of my movie is Wild Hogs 2, Hog Wild.
Yes, sir.
Wow. I would pay to see that.
Maybe you'd be open to the suggestion of having the Del Fuegos come back.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be part of the misadventures as they make their way through New Mexico. We will see the Del Fuegos bar.
Yeah, and they have to come back and join him and, like, save him. I mean, 10 years? Good Lord.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy, let me tell you.
God, I want to see that.
How married are you to Travolta being the one in the hospital? Or I want to hear the reasoning for him being the one in the hospital versus the other three.
Mainly, it's because I think he's going to be the toughest one to get back for a sequel. So I figure he'll be willing to just do a cameo. He also was the one that tanked Old Dogs, so I don't want to put too much of my eggs in the Travolta basket,
You're a good CSA. How is Michael Caine in a biker gang? That's amazing.
Yeah, that's how is William H. Macy in a biker gang?
Well, I mean, he was in Boogie Nights.
That's true.
But is there going to be like a backstory of like how the Ancient Moths got together?
Yeah, we'll learn a little bit about the Ancient Moths because what we'll find out is that this bar was actually used to be their bar.
Okay.
And now they want it back. So there's just kind of like a reason that they're going after this specific bar.
Got it. Okay. That completes the motivation circle.
Holy hell, dude. That's a pitch right there.
I mean, I feel like there could have been a little more Cincinnati in your Ancient Moths gang, but I'll forgive it.
I didn't say this, but it's a Skyline chili bar. I didn't say that, did I?
There you go. That's what I wanted, baby. All right. Matt, let us hear your reboot, prequel, or sequel.
I have a problem with any answer that isn't reboot due to the nature of this movie being so dog shit. All of the relationships and resolutions being unearned. So it needs to be reboot and it needs to be done with a proper arc. So mine is going to be a Wild Hogs reboot. In which it's not about hogs. It's not about these motorcycles. And I'll get to that. So 4 middle-aged men must go on to find themselves. But my movie's going to be about esports and being competitive in video games where they're still a fish out of water, except for now they're against kids playing video games.
Oh my God.
So my Wild Hogs would be centered around the father-son story in which the father would earn his son's affection through bonding about video games. The son would come along on the road trip and he would realize how cool his father is, and all the other three character arcs would be relatively the same. But the kid coming along on the journey, he would help all the adults navigate the new world of video games, introduce them to social media, Twitch, and the lingo of the day, poggers. So Wild Hogs would be the name of their team. Counter-Strike would be their game. And it would be a road trip to LA where they are competing in a LAN. And I don't want to go beat by beat into the story, but most of the antagonists, or the main antagonist, would be like a group of mean kids, much like the kid with the power glove in The Wizard.
So I know I'm not supposed to attack Matt's answers.
He's not supposed to do nothing.
I'm not supposed to do that. But he said that this requires a reboot because none of the plots in the first one worked. And then he wants to bring over 3 of the plots for the characters into his new movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think they work as side. Well, first of all, jumping in, love it.
To defend Ben, I had a similar question. So.
Okay, well, I mean, that's a fair question. So I'll just pretend it came from Wesley, and this whole fucking question game isn't rigged from the start. So anyway, it obviously would be a father-son story. So the main roles would be Tim Allen, right? It's the father, and then the son would be the other main character. The 3 other auxiliary characters would be so much of a side plot that they could be what they were, and those stories could be wrapped up in such an easier manner.
Can I ask why the other guys go with?
They all play video games together, and that's how their friendship has stayed intact. And they want to be competitive.
Okay, so they're not even into like motorcycles. This is like they've been grown up with
this is
gaming.
Fucking toss motorcycles out.
They
I don't
grew up with
fucking
gaming,
want it.
and so they get together and play games together, or they do stuff online together all the time. Got it. Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I just don't see a movie for dads that's PG-13 about motorcycles working, even though this one did make money, technically.
Did you say Tim Allen is in your reboot?
I'm taking the same cast, baby. I want to show everybody it works.
Double down. I love it. My only real question is, why are they still called the Wild Hogs?
Well, okay, that's actually a great question.
Thank you.
John Travolta and Tim Allen and William H. Macy, they all met at a bar, right? And
Martin Lawrence.
And Martin Lawrence was there, but they weren't friends yet because, we have to find an interesting way to introduce them if he's going to be the token side character in my movie. Tim Allen started acting really nasty around a woman, and then they're all like, look at this hog. And then they all started throwing beer at him. and then Martin Lawrence came and punched him in the face because he was being a fucking prick. And then they all found out that they love pinball because it's like the 80s, right?
Oh my God.
And then they just stayed in touch. That's how friends are.
And then they got to Counter-Strike.
How groups of friends get their nickname based off of terrible choices that one of them made 20 years ago.
Yeah, and then that's how they became the Wild Hogs.
I would rename that movie to Group of Friends.
I think Nick should take back his comment about you being a good storyteller.
What?
So question 1 was about building your own biker gang. So Matt, your answers for fulfilling these archetypes were Steve Urkel, AC Slater, and Caitlyn Jenner. Ben, your characters were Max Fisher, Wee Herman, and Pedro. Ben, the thread that tied it all together, that they all actually did ride bicycles, was really, really huge. So I absolutely love that. I think both of you picked characters that fit the requirements for that type well, but I think that Ben's were a better cohesive group, where Matt's, I think you kind of just picked the characters, not necessarily as a group. But the absolute thing that pushed it over for me was in Ben's answer, that Pee-wee actually does win over a rival biker gang. And I think that anybody in that biker gang group, like that's your core guy right there. So Ben wins question 1. Question 2. So Ben, you had the blushing parrotfish, and Matt, you had the anxious axolotls. I'm happy that both of you had to look up what those animals were. Ben, yours was kind of cut and dry for me. Like it seemed like you were kind of thrown a little bit. Obviously, like that's a weird pairing, blushing parrotfish. So no love lost there for how difficult that one was. Matt, I think that you actually including a reason for someone in your gang to be in a gang that is named that way. So you saying that they are amphibious because they hang out in Caitlyn Jenner's pool was a very nice touch. But the thing that I liked the most from both of your answers was Matt talking about why they're anxious, and it's because they can't remember if they have filled up their gas or not. And that stuck with me. So Matt is going to get question 2. And question 3, the classic reboot, prequel, sequel. Ben, your movie just seems like it would work. I had mentioned that it kind of felt like a Daddy's Home 2 situation where you've got a movie that's really based on these archetypes, and then you introduce a new generation of similar archetypes in a rival kind of scenario.
It's very Disney.
Yes. Yeah. And you obviously struck close to home, literally, by making this more centered on Cincinnati. Your character choices were great, but I don't think really mattered all that much. Matt, your reboot, I was super hooked when you said it has to be a reboot. And I was very quickly let down when you said all the character arcs are the same. I'd like the idea though, the change, like swapping out the motorcycles, because I think that this movie specifically hangs too much weight on motorcycles as a crux to the story and
vroom,
plot
vroom.
And the vroom vroom. The esports could be interesting, but I don't think you explored enough of the other characters, and not that I needed more plot or story, but I think you kind of said one thing and then described it as the opposite. So that one is going to Ben.
Congrats, Ben.
Yeah, so Ben's winning today 2-1.
Woo! Snaps for Ben.
And he gets to pick a thing. 10 points.
I'll name my
Ben's
prize next week. Yep.
I'm surprised I didn't get 3-0'd there, to be honest. So I'm happy. I took my ragtag crew and pulled them out of the dirt in question 2. Because Ben's movie was so much better, and him going first, you're just like, shit. I didn't write enough of this. This wasn't explored enough. It's like a good idea, but at the same time, you should probably think about it a little bit more. Anyway, great job, Ben.
Thank you.
Nick, tell us where we can find you on the internet.
So I'm pretty active on Instagram. I post a lot of my performance, like live performances there. But you can find me on my artist name is Celestial Sonic Experience. You can find me on any platform. I mean, shoot, you can find me on TikTok, apparently. I had no idea. That's pretty cool. So,
nice.
So if you have a cool video, put it on TikTok. Represent, give me a couple of cents. So yeah, just check out anywhere that you listen to music and look up Celestial Sonic Experience, and I guarantee you'll find my face right there.
Nick, we had so much fun with you on.
I had a great time.
It was fantastic.
You guys are so much fun. I love your games.
It really gets into the weeds there sometimes.
I love it.
Yeah, I always wonder what will make it through. So if you're still listening, thank you so much for listening. Be sure to subscribe, rate us, and share us with your friends. And be sure to follow us on social media at IDYP_podcast. And Ben, what is our next movie that we're watching?
Next week, we'll be doing Ocean's 13, and we'll be having on Ryan from the Coolness Chronicles, which is a podcast about the history and legacy of Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yeah.
Whoa. I got to check them out. That's cool as hell.
Yeah, not sure why he wanted to be on for Ocean's 13. That doesn't really fit the MST3K sitch that he does, so I'll be interested to learn from him
it's better than Wild Hogs.
That one.
I mean, like, who are you going to find for Wild Hogs? Come on.
So we had to ask social media, and we found Nick, and Nick
you
was
found
wonderful.
me. I came out.
We're going to find a gem. That's who we're going to find. Okay?
We did. Such a gem.
I had a great time. It was fun.
Well, thanks for being on again, and goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.
Peace.
Thank you, Nick. Bye, everybody.